Welcome to another episode of the One Life podcast. We're going to dive deeper into the sermon a little bit, do some leadership talk today. I'm excited about the podcast. We just finished week number 2 of a series we're calling Parables, a study through Jesus' parables.
That's right. Those short little stories.
Short stories, shorts, YouTube shorts.
Kind of.
Yeah. We, at the East Campus this week, we talked about parables in general. Okay. So both campuses were a little different this week, but...
yeah, Julie spoke here, did a great job. You spoke at East Campus. I haven't seen your message yet, so I can't say you did a great job. I've heard good feedback.
Okay, that's good.
There you go.
So we talked a little bit about parables in general, right? And so I'm going to start off today with something fun. There are some, the whole point of parables is Jesus relating to us, right? But he did it a couple thousand years ago. So the illustrations he uses are like farming. We were in the sower and the seed this week and that kind of stuff. So I asked AI, I said, hey, what if Jesus was teaching us right now, what illustrations would he use to relate to us? Okay. So here's what we have. We have the parable of the gym membership. A man signed up for the gym in January but never went. He continued telling people he was getting in shape while his membership auto-renewed. Likewise, many claim to follow Jesus but never actually practice what he taught. Is this a realistic?
Oh, for sure.
Having you're a big gym guy. You guys own a gym, so okay.
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
for sure.
This one hit home with me.
It's just the status for people that say,
yeah, I have a gym membership.
I have a gym membership.
Yeah, and then January they post it and stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. All right, this one is one of the best ones. Parable of the left lane driver.
Okay.
The kingdom of heaven is like a highway. Some drivers move with purpose, but others cruise slowly in the left lane, blocking everyone else.
Yes.
Verily, I tell you, those who slow the progress of others may find themselves last in the merging lane.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
I like that.
This one probably is relative to me from my college days. This is the parable of the microwave. Okay, a man wanted his blessing instantly, like a hot pocket in a microwave. But the Lord said, some things require slow cooking to bring out the best flavor. The impatient man burned his tongue, but the wise man feasted in due time.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
The crock pot and the microwave and the crock pot illustration.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, here's preach.
The last one. This was the East Campus favorite by far. This is the parable of the Wi-Fi signal. A man went to a coffee shop but couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. He blamed the router. He restarted his phone. He even accused the devil. But the barista said, "Sir, you never accepted the terms and conditions."
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
So likewise, many seek God's blessings but never accept his word. Thanks, AI.
And then blame everybody else.
Everybody else was the problem.
That's actually pretty great.
She's like, "Sir, you never accepted the terms and conditions."
Has that ever happened to you?
No, I don't go to a lot of coffee shops and try to, I'll use my data or whatever. I'm not trying to.
That's both. I mean, Julie spoke this weekend and she talked about that she's not a coffee person, and you're really not a coffee person.
I have been more lately, but that's definitely not an every morning routine thing for me. No.
You're missing out, man.
It's if I need a little, like if I'm preaching, it's 9 a.m. and I have to be like ready to go. Like this week I drank some coffee, but
it's good.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
We have some work to do, I guess.
For sure.
All right, so that's honestly, and I think this is the first question I want to ask you. Yeah. We kind of joked about it, but there's actually like a deep theological meaning, even with just the simplicity of a parable, right? Like for him to make an effort, him being Jesus, for Jesus to make an effort to relate to us, using illustrations, over-communicating. Even in the case of Matthew chapter 13, you get this concept of a really good communicator where he said the parable in verses 3 through 8. You skip down a few verses, he says it again with more application so it sinks in. Yep. So talk a little bit about that from a standpoint of like even the concept of a parable. I think the way I used it or said it was like if he his desire to relate to us is an example of his desire for a relationship with us, right? Yeah. So talk about that, the importance of not only parables, but then him coming down to earth, getting on our level to have a relationship with us.
Well, you said it perfectly. I don't know if I could even add more to it, except like some churchy language is the incarnational approach to Jesus' teaching is 100% always reminding us that, no, this is a personal relationship, a walk. He's not, and that's what he's after. I think that the parable approach is 100% taking these theological concepts, but I'm not the smartest guy, allowing people like you and me to be able to understand them in such a practical way. I think that removes this idea of Christianity is only for the elite. Definitely not. It's for the common man. And I think that's why Jesus would would teach today in the microwave and the social media, all of that, because it's not some theological concept that you can't wrap your mind around. It's these ideas, and what most of the parables are around the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
And Jesus is saying, it's not this concept that you can't understand. I'm going to make it in a way like a mustard seed. And then to your point, which is why he's a master communicator. This next weekend, I'm going to preach the lost coin, the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. It's 3 stories for 1 point.
Yeah.
And which is actually really helpful for me, right? Of like, why am I having such trouble understanding this? Well, Jesus knew that we would, which is why he would hit it again and then again and then again. And Jesus is the master communicator. No transitions in these 3 that we're going to hear this weekend. It's just boom. Oh, you still don't get it? Boom. Still don't get it? Boom.
Yeah.
And then by the end, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. He's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees, and he's talking to the sinners.
Yeah.
Just 3, and in all 3 of those, there's those 2 groups of people are in it. So that's why it's just the incarnational approach of Jesus's ministry of, at first glance of like the kingdom of God. Okay, so then go back to our series we did last year on Masterclass. It was this whole upside down approach, right? Like, no, you think it's like this, but actually, it's really simple.
Right.
And then don't overthink it. And don't make it something that it's not.
Yeah.
So that's my quick riff on that.
The line he uses a lot within parables is like, those who have ears, let him hear.
That's right.
And I think sometimes we can get caught up in ourselves of that a little bit. Like only this select few can fully understand this mysterious story.
Right.
Versus it being like, no, he's making an effort here to relate to us. He genuinely is pursuing our understanding.
Yeah. And again, it just goes back over and over again to this idea of, he is not so far away, God. This is why he came. What's the Message translation says? No, the paraphrase says, like, he walked into the neighborhood. He put on clothes, put on flesh, and came into the neighborhood. It's that idea of like, no, he's with you.
Yeah,
and he wants and desires that relationship, which is why he teaches these. Honestly, he teaches these complex spiritual truths in a way where all of us can understand them.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing about parables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition. I know you just said we're going to talk about next week and some of the other things coming up, obviously Easter, all that kind of stuff in just a moment.
Yep.
But from a leadership standpoint, we're doing this at the end of every month. Talk about the book. March is now officially over. It's April, which is crazy. It means it's going to get hot soon.
I have an Easter outfit planned because I usually plan, unless it sounds like super girly, but whatever, when you're going to have a bunch of services. And I look at it, I'm like, I planned this like in January and February when I bought these clothes. I'm like, I think it's going to be too hot because it's the end of April.
Yeah.
So I'm actually rethinking my whole Easter fit.
Interesting.
Because of how warm it's gonna be.
Yeah. I'm not sure I get to really pick my Easter outfit, to be honest with you. I think I have to match whatever Juliet tells me. So I will get a few options when that time comes. That time is coming pretty soon. But
better get on
that's our go-to, like, family picture time.
Yep.
Here we go.
It's pretty great.
Let's make sure like DJ's not wearing blue and we're all wearing like pink. Like, this is going to be weird. So
it's very true.
Yeah.
And like Easter's like the one time of the year where it's okay. I mean, I think it's okay to wear pink anytime, but people don't like question you.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Easter. like
pastel,
bright, like the pastels. It's fair game for that for sure.
Yeah, Easter, I'm so excited. It's going to be, our team has worked so hard. The stories, the music, the overall feel, the photo booth area. It's going to be a really special weekend.
Yeah.
Excited.
All right, talk about the book. What'd you just finish?
Okay,
Month of March is over.
From strength to strength. And that's just finding purpose, finding meaning in the second part of your life. I think we've talked about this on the podcast. And so it was just this reassuring moment of, no, even in your 40s, in your 50s, there is more. And you can, again, you should be able to reshift. You shouldn't be doing the same thing that you were doing in your 30s, like as you continue to grow. And if you're moving into something different, or you have more influence, different influence, like you can still find just as much meaning and significance in the second part of your life. And it's really fascinating. Guys struggle with this. The data is showing more than women. And a lot of it is because our identity is wrapped up in like what we do And when that starts to slow down, or when you get older, and this is where maybe we should talk about this, um, especially pastors, the older that I get, like I look at 21, 21, 22-year-old, and sometimes I still think like, oh, I'm not far off from that.
Mm,
I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm double their age,
mm,
guys that are graduating college. Like I'm officially now, and here's the interesting dynamic after reading that book. I'm officially like a dad to
mm,
like young pastors. Like I'm not their bro anymore.
mm.
It's like he's a dad. I'm not a grandpa, thank God. But I do think in like Christianity, like in
Mm,
the church world,
yeah.
that there is I don't know if COVID did that, but it just seems like a lot of the guys like I looked up to are now not out of the game because they did anything wrong necessarily, but it's like Rick Warren, he's retired. He's
Mm,
grandpa.
mm,
Or even like Andy Stanley a little bit. Like I look at them, I'm like, these are the older guys, like who is in this middle. It's I'm trying to wrap my head around that of like maybe it's time. I'm just like a young dad. Like maybe it's
mm.
time to step into that role because all the older, they're in their 60s at the
Yeah.
later part of their ministry. So yeah,
Interesting.
it's an interesting. So finding significance in the second part of your life, and it sounds crazy. If God gives me 80 years, I am in the second part of my life,
Mm,
and I want it to be more fruitful, more meaningful, more purposeful than the first part.
yeah. That's
So
good.
it's yeah, a really helpful book. I would encourage anyone to read that. Now you're almost 30. I don't necessarily know if that's the right book for you to read right now, but it's
Weak to strength would be mine,
there,
not strength to strength.
but strength, like you've accomplished something, you're relatively successful by the world standards.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lazy, complacent, and I don't want to get lazy and complacent. It's just going to have to look different
Mm,
in this next season for me.
that's good.
Yeah,
I do think it's healthy for anybody, no matter what stage of life you're in. Like how can I still keep the call of God on my life and still make it better,
that's
right?
right.
How can
Yeah,
I get stronger? Whether you're 75 or I don't know, 10, right?
yeah.
Like what's God calling me to do right now?
Well, and also too, I think that Strength to Strength, Arthur Brooks was not a Christian. I think he's a Christian, but it's not a Christian book.
Mm,
Um, this when you have your identity, I think we talked about this last week. When your identity is secure in who God's called you to be,
mm,
like now that's just icing on the cake because now you're not just finding a strength in a business or in being a dad. Now like you're walking into this transcendent moment of like making your life live beyond you and for other people.
yeah.
I mean, that's the coolest part is you
Mm,
can take this incredible principle, strength to strength, add the spiritual component. Your identity's wrapped up in Jesus, not anything that you ever accomplish.
yeah.
And the fact that we get to even accomplish cool things for the kingdom just makes it that much better.
Yeah. I think it's even like the same principle is for an organization or a church, right? Because I think there was 7, almost 8 years ago, this time of like, okay, it's a rebuild mentality, right? And maybe not is the best illustration, but it was a weaker, it was dying, and now we're strong.
Yep,
So now what's the next step? Now the next step of the organization is strength to strength, right?
that's right.
Or greater to even greater. Like what does that look like? And so within that, we've had conversations internally as an organization to do the same thing, to take a strong, growing church. How do we make it even better? How do we continue to grow? So speak to that from a leadership standpoint. Even some of the stuff with restructuring, like what goes into that from an organization, from the leader of an organization or a church, to make it from strong to even stronger.
Well, part of it is you have to have the vision, and here's kind of my biggest struggle
Mm,
of I see where we're going to be 10 years from now, let's just say, and immediately my reaction is like, let's get there. But oftentimes, where a lot of people trip up, and I even think personally for me, I've done this a little bit, is no, like, yes, that's where we're going to go, but there's some things that have to shift even before you get there. It
mm,
just can't, and that's the growing. There's a lot of research on this. One of the great books on this is Predictable Success,
mm,
that actually has like the groundwork of just because that's where you're going to see, and a lot of like futuristic CEO types live in that realm.
yeah.
It's really hard for them to be like, well, in order to get there, you actually have to shift some other things
Hmm.
before you can actually have that structure, that system, that revenue, what you name it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like what we're dealing with at One Life. We're running 1,500 in order to get, so instead of thinking of like 5,000, no, what do we have to shift and adjust to get to 2,000, 2,500, 3,000? So not just staffing, but now we're in conversations of like, well, what's it going to look like to add another service and maybe shift one, right? I mean, there's all things that we have to start dreaming and thinking about
Yeah.
together as a team in order for us to get there. Because what's not okay is we can't stay still. Like, that's not the vision that God's given us. Like, we're going to do everything, and I'm going to talk about that this weekend. We're going to do everything we can in the time that God gives us to reach one more life for Jesus. Like, push back the darkness, bring heaven on earth. So what's not okay for us is just to be like, wow, look at where we were and look where we are. And we can take a moment and celebrate and praise God for that. But I take it as, no, God's brought us here. He's given us more. He's blessing us. Now, what are we going to do in the next season, the next 7 years? I don't think, I could be wrong, only the Lord knows this, but I think I can say this confidently. I don't think it's going to take us 7 years to double.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
I think it's going to actually go pretty fast. And who knows? The Lord's ultimately in control of all of that. But if I'm thinking, praying, talking to our elders, talking to mentors, they're like, no, in order to get to 3,000, here's some shifting. And then guess what happens? You shift again, and you shift again, and you shift again, and you shift again, because we're going to constantly be shifting, constantly doing everything that we can to reach more people for Jesus. So the organization is going to look different from time to time as we continue to grow. And that means I have to shift even like how I lead and how I'm continually growing to be the leader I think God's calling me to be. It requires shifting for me.
Yeah.
So that's my leadership encouragement to people of like, oftentimes I see the church of 10,000 in the structure. I'm like, well, in order to get there, like the structure is not going to get us to the next level.
Yeah.
And then we just keep on shifting. So I've asked our staff of like, hey, you have to be flexible in this season of growth. And I'm really proud of our team, man. Like change is, we talked about this last week. Change is not easy for a lot of people. 70% of people have S in their disc profile, and that immediately changes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, I get it. So let's just be flexible with this season, and in a year from now, we're probably going to shift it again.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's scary, but man, knowing where God's taking us, that's the vision piece that keeps me awake at night and reaching more people for Jesus. So yeah.
I think it's going back to the individual standpoint, like our listeners. If I, as a dad, right, if I functioned the same way now with 3 kids as I did with 1, there would be issues, right? Like just like normal growth of family, like my role changes, what that looks like, it changes. And whether it's a business, whether it's a family, whether it's just a relationship, like there's constant change in our world.
Yep.
And we have to be able to adapt to that in order to keep influence. And God calls us all to have influence, right? We're all leaders. We all have influence. We're supposed to influence the world. So those are important things.
Yeah. And two, I mean, okay, this is all insider nerd language. I think only a few people will like really love this, but like as the lead pastor of a larger church now, part of that role of like dad is like my job has to be coming in and like putting wind in people's sails, like even with our staff, right? The idea of like me being like yes, I'm the boss, but at the end of the day of like me like being a boss is like, that's not helpful, even of like me holding people that have been accountable to certain things. Of like, no, it's actually my job is like throw wind on like, hey, I'm going to believe in you, the encourager, and then you have to allow other people to be the bad guy in a good way. I mean, right? But this is the steps of a growing organization.
Right.
We all want to grow, but we all want to keep it the same. No, let's be forward thinking. Let's think through this a little bit, the structure. So that's some of the fun stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
And we're going to be one church in 3 locations. So that's always going to shift, and you know what Superior is going to look like. We don't really know. I'm gonna we're gonna figure it out. We're committed to figuring it out.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's going to always that's more wrinkles. So
talk about the Porch for a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
So this week we're operational with the Mesa Outreach Center. Talk about just the vision for that, the dream behind it, and now getting to see that thing in full operation.
Yeah, 2021. It was part of our One Life movement. Hey, we have a dream that we're going to plant not just one church in 2 locations, East Mesa, but we want to have a Mesa Outreach Center. And man, it's just the way it seems to be working, even with Superior a little bit. of like, we have the vision, we have all that, but just, setback. And I kind of explained it this weekend. In hindsight now, it actually hasn't been a setback. It was just a setup for what God ultimately had. And so I think we had to go on that journey of what's around there to bring us to the property on our Mesa location. So it's been remodeled, updated. This Friday, we will be hosting our neighbors. And what I love, Pastor Julie, I'm asking her to like step into the leadership of this.
Yeah.
She said it so well of like, we have no idea what God's going to bring or who God's going to bring. And so let's just be open-handed with it. Like, God, like we have a vision. So we have a food pantry, we have like a thrift store, we have like a way that people can take advantage of the services. But it's also this moment of like, God, you've called us to do this. And so we're going to trust you to bring the right people at the right time. And I think with really great, strong leadership, like this will be the greatest ministry that we have here in Mesa, Arizona. This is going to, I believe, pave the way for great ministry to be done, for needs to be met, like actual needs to be met. And I think this is how this community is going to know that One Life Church is here. I'm thrilled for what's about to happen. So Friday I was here in the office because nobody was around, and sometimes if like Amanda's working, the kids are at school, I'll pop over. And man, they were there working all day, getting that thing ready to go. So here we go, man. It's exciting cool. Time.
That's really cool. Yeah. All right, just give us real quick your pitch for Easter. Right now, we're two weeks away from Week of Prayer. So talk about the importance of Week of Prayer. And then also like this is the week. Like we'll have sticky notes at both locations. What is a sticky note? Maybe it's a first time listener to like, what the heck? What are they doing?
So
with
leading up
notes?
to big days, we put sticky notes on invites, sticky notes on worship guides, and we ask people, who are you inviting to come to you, come with you to like at the movies, Easter, Christmas, and would you write their name on a sticky note? And we place it on the wall. So when people come in this weekend, Week of Prayer, there will be hundreds, thousands of sticky notes all on the walls. And we actually put some up from years past too. So it's kind of fun to see the different colors of sticky notes that we've chosen, whatever the case is. But it's fun to see like the different names. And then and so we pray. Like we pray specifically for people who are far from God. That your church family is inviting a neighbor, a coworker to come with them. And so that's the week of prayer. I'm very focused on this of like, hey, we are not here to pray for our needs. We do that every Wednesday morning. We do that in life group. But when you show up to the week of prayer, we are praying for people who are far from God, specifically, that God would use an invitation, a conversation, somehow, like scrolling online, God would bring them drive by, and then God would save their soul on Easter weekend. So I think that just lays the groundwork. It puts a new fire, passion amongst our staff, even just raising the temperature on the invite culture is always really important. So that's the week of prayer. I'll talk a lot about that at the beginning of this week's message. But then Easter, here's my plea: invite. You never know what God will do through a simple invitation. And then if you're a church member and you're not inviting anyone, you cannot come to the 10 a.m. service on Easter Sunday here at the Mesa campus. That'll be the most full, and we just need your seat. We need to be on mission. So move to Saturday night, 8:30, 11:30, and then pray like crazy and watch and see what God will do. Praying for hundreds of people to say yes to Jesus, and then the following week is baptism. We're going to baptize, we already have tons of people registered. So
this is something cool too. Here at our Mesa campus, we are getting to the point where we cannot baptize, like we're baptizing too many people. Okay. So our team last week or the week before, they've built a new, bigger baptistry where we can dunk like 80 people. No, I'm just kidding. It's big though. It's like I would take that thing as
I think
a
it's
huge
set up
hot
right
tub.
now in the auditorium. I haven't even seen it yet. I've seen pictures.
They're apparently practicing filling it up. I don't know.
To make sure there's no leaks.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the goal, right? Of like, okay, let's go back to the first conversation. What's the vision? Well, we want to baptize 2,500 people. Well, great. Well, the current thing that we had, the little baptistry, can't do that.
Yeah.
So what do we have to change and adjust to make sure? And then one of the other changes that we made is like putting them inside the services so church family can be a part of it and it's not outside of this. So I know at East Mesa campus, it's a little bit different just because of logistics, but
it's changing its flexibility. How does what's best for each campus?
What do we do
Yeah.
to reach and to include as many people into these stories as we possibly can? So
It's good.
yeah, man, here we are. So Easter, pray, invite, and don't come to the 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Move off that service for me, unless you're bringing somebody.
Yeah.
Unless that's the only service you can come to. I get all that, but I hope people
can stand in the back.
People are understanding my heart for that.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really
all
good.
right, well, we're excited. Next week, we'll dive into week number 3 of parables, and that'll lead us up. We're just a couple weeks away from Easter weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, the church is not a building we sit in. It's a movement we get to be a part of to reach one more life for Jesus.